This is Eyewitness News, Wednesday, February 8, 1978, with Jack Chase, Gail Harris, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good afternoon, everyone. The network is having difficulties. We have not yet found out why. However, we had planned a special hour-and-a-half long special news coverage for you, and now it's going to be about an hour and 45 minutes. But we are prepared to bring you a completely update on all the latest storm aftermath information. Gail is with me. Shelby Scott is still snowbound. And as you know, it is the day after the great storm and part of a time that we'll be talking about for probably many years to come. As I mentioned, Shelby Scott is still snowbound. She's at home. Gail Harris is here. Many of us have been here for several days. We're running out of clothes and hope that this emergency is over soon. Don Kent, of course, is still here, and he still has the gleam in his eyes, but I think partly that's reflecting the blue in the sky, which we welcome after the great storm of yesterday. Once again, we're going to present a special 90-minute edition, plus, of Eyewitness News, which will include a special segment with Sharon King. Sharon is going to have some ideas on how to keep your snowbound family busy, and she'll also have a look at cross-country skiing, something in which she is a specialist and which is our area's most popular sport at the moment. Boston and the rest of the region awoke to find a picturesque blanket of white. Things are actually a lot better today, but the largest snow cleanup operation in memory is only just beginning. The state of emergency still exists in Massachusetts. All unnecessary travel is still banned. Governor Dukakis is making a helicopter tour to assess the situation. Regular Army engineers with heavy equipment have moved into flood-stricken sections of Revere to help with the cleanup. Additional federal help will be arriving as soon as a runway is cleared at Logan International Airport. Overnight, Boston police arrested more than 100 people for looting. The National Guard is airdropping food and other emergency supplies to people who are still stranded along Route 128. The storm-related death toll in New England has reached at least 30 and is expected to climb. Damage from the storm and the cleanup costs will, of course, run into the tens of millions of dollars. Boston public schools have been closed for the remainder of the week. Other communities are expected to follow suit. The situation is the same throughout the rest of New England. The great storm has ended, but its visibility, of course, and presence are going to be felt for a long time to come. Don Kent has been a very busy man the past several days, and I'm sure he's just as happy as the rest of us with the blue skies, although it's not quite as exciting. But Don Kent has a look at the weather now, and we say good afternoon, Don.
Well,
not quite. It is still good morning, isn't it?
Good morning to you and Gail and to everybody out there. We want to make sure, though, that the people on Cape Cod don't feel slighted. We talked a lot about their good weather yesterday when they were in the eye of the storm. Now, while we have the brilliant blue sky in Boston and over most all of New England, the lower South Shore and the Cape still is cloudy. They wonder what all the talk about blue sky is up here, and there are even a few snow flurries reported on parts of Cape Cod, because down there, they're on the outer fringe of the clouds. Our National Weather Map shows a cloud deck just covering the Cape Cod area. The high storm clouds that made the heavy snow have gone long out to sea, but there are some low clouds coming down on the coast, probably beginning down below Scituate on the coast area, covering the Cape Cod Canal, Plymouth area, and the whole region. A few scattered snow flurries there, but as you can see, the dry air is coming down from the north. It's clear and bright and beautiful here, and it's going to be clearing out down there this afternoon, and any snow flurries on the Cape in the next hour or two won't amount to much. There's a little patch of cloudiness down here in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, also moving off to the southeast. There's also a patch of clouds from a little upper air trough over here in the Great Lakes region, just mostly cloudy. We're not expecting any development out of that. But in other parts of the country, they are having bad weather too. Down here in the Gulf of Mexico, there's a low pressure area with some upper air support that's going to take it right across Florida. And while Florida isn't buried in snow, they're certainly not very happy in Florida, because this morning it was in the 30s in northern and central Florida, only in the 40s down in Miami. And here's a cold rainstorm coming right for Florida, while to the north, way up here in northwest Florida, and maybe in parts of Alabama and Georgia, there may even be some sleet and freezing rain or a few snowflakes before that storm goes out to sea. Then we find a broad area of snow in this area. This is caused by mild air overrunning and still another storm coming in the Pacific. But as far as we're concerned, and we'll have many more details later in this expanded newscast, we're going to have sunny skies this afternoon, fair weather tonight, Fair weather again tomorrow and into Friday. So we've got a good spell of weather to get the cleanup job going strong.
Thank you, Don. While you were giving us the preliminary look at the weather, Don, we'll of course be back. We have learned the source of the problem, which has thrown all of the networks off the air and has thrown a lot of people in the downtown area of Boston out of power as well. Apparently, there is a central location of Boston Edison in the downtown area which has been knocked off the air, and they're unable to feed the network, and also power is out to at least 20,000 people in the downtown area. Right now, the city of Boston has more than 500 pieces of heavy equipment on the roads, bulldozers, front-end loaders, and graders. By late this evening, we anticipate all major arteries are going to be open, at least to emergency vehicles. It's a very slow, tiring, tedious process. It's not going to be accomplished in a matter of any few hours. It's going to take a long time when you consider that the city of Boston alone has 5,500 streets and 790 miles of roadway. Again, we're asking all residents who have cars in the street and are trying to dig them out not to throw the snow in the street. If you do, the streets will become impassable once again. Equipment is being contracted from as far away as New Hampshire. Mayor Wyatt of Boston is making two special appeals. One, to check on the elderly and handicapped residents who may not be able to find help. And the second is to at least shovel out, if that is possible, the marked location of the fire hydrants in your neighborhood. Gail?
Jack, among other problems precipitated by the storm has been a blood shortage. Since Massachusetts has been declared a federal disaster area, units of whole blood are scheduled to be flown in from North Carolina as soon as Logan Airport is reopened. The Red Cross is keeping its donor center open at 99 Brookline Avenue from 8:30 this morning until 7:30 tonight. Both today and tomorrow, an emergency bloodmobile will be located at Holmes House on the campus of Harvard University. And if you live in Worcester, Springfield, Peabody, or Methuen, donor centers are also open in those cities. If you can get there, your blood will be a vital contribution. Beth Israel Hospital is in desperate need of volunteers for all areas of the hospital. All nursing staff members are asked to report to work there at Beth Israel Hospital. The hospital is asking nurses and volunteers to call 735-2245. Once again, that number is 735-2245. And as we have been doing for the past several days, let's give you a list of numbers again. If you have an emergency, these numbers should be able to assist you. First, the Boston Snow Center number, 725-3050. If you have any, well, that number again, 725-3050, the Boston Snow Center. If you should have any problems with bursting water pipes, we have that number as well. It's 268-3955. Maybe you should grab a pencil at this point and just write some of these numbers down in case you should need them. Bursting water pipes, 268-3955. The number for the MBTA emergency, that is 722-3200. 722-3200. The general emergency number for police, fire, and ambulance is 911. That is true in Boston and many other surrounding communities. Emergency numbers for emergencies only, 911. For any other numbers, you can check the inside cover of your telephone directory to see if that 911 cover includes your community. Also, Boston Edison, if you're having power problems, that number is 262-4700. 262-4700. In Newton, the emergency number is 552-7200, and Brookline 277-8149. We'll have some more of those numbers for you later on in the program. Right now, we'll go to a commercial and come back with more.
A lot's changed in Philadelphia since 1866, but they still love stickball on Camac Street, and Breyer's ice cream is still #1. It's still made with sweet, ripe fruit, real vanilla beans, rich, dark chocolate, and nothing artificial. That's how Breyer's made friends in 1866, and that's how we're making new ones every day. Breyer's, the all-natural ice cream, since 1866.
Ernie Didi DiGregorio plays his first game on the road as a Boston Celtic Wednesday night against the Kansas City Kings, and we'll be there. Hi, I'm Len Berman. Join Bob Cousy and me for all the basketball action from Kansas City this Wednesday night at 8:30 on TV4.
If you're handicapped and need public transportation, call the MBTA at 722-5123. Ask about the ride.
WBZ-TV, Boston's original TV station.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you just joined us, we are continuing our coverage of the snow emergency. The NBC and all the other networks are off the air in Boston at this hour. We understand that's because there is a power failure in a central building in downtown Boston that feeds out those signals to all of the TV stations. So we will be in local programming, certainly for the foreseeable future. We'll have a special 90-minute edition of the news at this hour and try to keep you up to date with everything that's going on. Logan Airport right now is preparing to receive federal troops. Some 300 soldiers were dispatched from Fort Bragg, North Carolina this morning, and we will have more on that story in just a moment. Governor Michael Dukakis is touring our snow-stricken area by helicopter at this hour. He, along with MDC Commissioner John Snedeker, is taking an aerial view to assess just how much damage there is and how much work will have to be done. Eyewitness News reporter Andy Hiller was with the governor this morning, and he tells us that the governor and others are in for another long day.
The governor left the MDC Police Storm Emergency Center at about 1 o'clock this morning. He was back at 7 to be briefed by MDC officials, including Commissioner John Snedeker, on the progress of the state's storm fighting efforts. Then he had a statement to make which was both optimistic and cautious.
I hope that the fact that the sun is shining and the blue skies are out there doesn't deceive anybody. We have a very serious emergency situation, and I would hope that all of you would continue to remain in or close to your homes. I know you probably want to do some snow shoveling and walk around a little bit in your yards and paths and maybe out in front of your house, but beyond that, please, let us all remain in our homes except for essential personnel. If you need groceries and you're really running short, there may be some stores in your area that have been opened with local people who can get to those stores. And if you want to go up there walking, not riding in a car, just walking, certainly you can do so if you need food and supplies that badly. But please walk. Do not take your car. Take somebody with you if possible, and do your best to avoid the snow fighting equipment and personnel that are out there trying to clear those streets for us.
Line from Forest Hills to Sullivan Square. There is no commuter rail service. Snow trains and crews are working on the tracks right now in an effort to clear them. For the latest T information, there are now 2 numbers that you can call. Operators will answer questions if you dial 722-3200, and if you dial 722-5050, you can get a recorded message of what the current service conditions are. There are several telephone numbers that you should have available as long as the snow emergency continues. So we suggest that you have a pencil and paper ready and jot these numbers down and put them beside your telephone. Operators are standing by at the special snow center, which has been set up in Boston. For emergencies, you can call them at 725-3050. Any problems with bursting water pipes will be handled at 268-3955. For the latest information on the MBTA's operations, give them a call at 722-3200. For police, fire, and ambulance service in most communities, you just dial 911 or check the inside cover of your telephone directory. Boston Edison customers with problems should call 262-4700. For Massachusetts Electric customers, you should number is 625-0125. The special snow center number in Cambridge is
right, Ma?
When are you going to find a nice girl?
That's what barley soups are.
New.
Come on and taste a real good time at Valley's. Come on and bring the family down to Valley's. It doesn't cost a lot to taste the best we've got. Everything's fresh here. the menu's the best here. Come on and taste a real good time at Valley's.
Valley's in Andover, Saugus, Braintree, and Newton, also in Kittery, Maine.
There's one frozen dish you've never had, and it's the one you've been waiting for. Real steak. Introducing frozen steakhouse platters. Nice juicy cuts of real tenderloin, real marinated sirloin strip and ribeye that you can cook up rare, medium, or well done. Go ahead. Compare our platter to what you'd get in a steakhouse. Frozen steakhouse platters from Morton. The steakhouse brand means real steak.
At last, in paperback, the #1 bestseller Newsweek called Cheever's Triumph. The year, Falconer, now available in paperback from Ballantine Books.
As we mentioned a moment ago, Dan Ray is at Logan Airport at this hour. Governor Dukakis and Lieutenant Governor Tom O'Neill have just returned from a helicopter tour of the area. They went up to try and assess the damage and see just how bad it is. And let's go to Dan now for that update. Dan?
Gail, I'm with the state's two top officials, Governor Dukakis and Lieutenant Governor O'Neill. Governor, let's start off with you. What did you see? What does it look like from up above?
Well, we obviously have a tremendous amount of work to do. There's been very little clearing and plowing in residential neighborhoods all over the metropolitan area. The impact on the coastal communities is really devastating. In the South Shore area, for example, we saw houses just smashed around like matchsticks, lumber all over the ground, coastal roads out, seawalls broken up in Revere, of course, a very serious flooding situation and now freezing. So those coastal communities really have had an awful lot of damage. Out on 128, the situation can only be described as horrendous. Literally thousands of cars and trucks packed into a 7 or 8 mile stretch between Needham and Canton. And we've got crews out there. Commissioner Carroll is out there directing it himself, but clearly it will be the coastal communities and that 128 situation and some of the connecting roads that are going to be our major priorities for a while.
So it is fair to say that both of you have just flown over most of eastern Massachusetts. If you had your druthers, where would you like to see these federal troops sent immediately?
Well, that will depend very much on the recommendation I get from Secretary Barry, who is working obviously very closely with Commissioner Carroll and with our own NDC people and with Bob Cunningham, our Civil Defense Director. But I suspect that 128 will be one of those areas, the city of Boston itself and its neighborhoods may be another. The coastal communities another.
Lieutenant Governor O'Neill, of course, has been the emissary, the state's emissary for federal assistance over the last 3 years. What does it actually mean that we've been declared a federal disaster area outside of some troops coming in?
Well, we haven't been declared a federal disaster area just yet. We have an emergency declaration which was signed by the President yesterday. Now, that very simply means that we have the needed apparatus, the machinery to come in and move the snow out of here together with military personnel, which is being sent in and should be landing here within the next half hour. Beyond that, the cities and towns across the Commonwealth and my Office of Federal State Coordination, in conjunction with the staffs of all the congressional delegation, will be putting together something that calls for a declaration of disaster area. And that means we're going to just sit down and begin to reassess now what we need money to take care of, whether it's a business, whether it's a home, whether it's a person in work or out of work at this point, or whether it's an automobile. It's just plain stuck in the snow.
So at this point, then, we are not eligible for federal assistance beyond the movement of troops?
Oh, that's not clear. What we have is some federal assistance for military personnel and the military equipment, which is being flown in, and the equipment coming from our own military installations from around the state. Secondly, we've already have online enough money put in place for local communities to go out and contract with snow removal companies to put personnel and that machinery out on the roads, and that will be paid for 75% worth by the federal government. So I think we've done everything we possibly can do yesterday and today, and we'll be very systematically sitting down and making sure that the job gets done. I just hope that people pay attention to what Michael's been saying and just plainly stay off the roads with your automobiles. Let us get the job done. Let us have some time to clean up what has to be cleaned up so we can get back to normal.
Incidentally, Dan, people have been very good. It's obvious that there is virtually no movement of motor vehicles except for emergency vehicles and emergency personnel out there, and that's been extremely helpful, obviously. And again, it's important that that continue, that people stay in or very near their homes, that they don't use their automobiles, so that our crews, which are working their heads off, can do the job and do it just as quickly as possible.
So the bottom line is that although there's a lot of snow removal and cleanup to be done, also both of your offices are going to be hard at work in the next few days and few weeks putting some paperwork together to get some money into the state.
No question.
Okay. Gentlemen, best of luck. Thanks very much. That is the latest situation here at Logan Airport. Gail, we're standing by. Federal troops are due in, as Lieutenant Governor O'Neill said, perhaps within the hour. If that happens, we will make every effort to get you some coverage of that before this newscast ends, and we certainly will have fuller reports tonight on both First 4 News and during the 6 o'clock newscast. Reporting live with the Instant Eye from Logan Airport, this is Dan Ray. Back to you, Gail.
Fine. Thank you, Dan. As we have been reporting, the coastal areas of the state have been heavily damaged by the high tide floods that swept in at the height of the storm. On the South Shore this morning is Peter Mahegan. I have him on the phone now. And Peter, we heard just from the governor just a moment ago, and I understand it's simply awful.
Gail, this is the worst situation possibly ever to hit the South Shore of Boston. I'm calling now from the Scituate Town Hall. There's been a state of emergency here in Scituate since Monday night. Selectman Gerald Dwight estimates that between 30 and 40 houses here in Scituate have been destroyed along the waterfront. Many others have been badly damaged. Damage here is going to run into the millions of dollars, no question about it, even though it's going to be quite a while to assess all that damage. There were 5 fires that broke out during the storm, and 4 houses burned down. The Scituate Fire Department was simply unable to reach these fires.
Peter, are there still people in immediate danger from flooding or from their homes collapsing, that sort of thing?
Well, from what we understand, Gail, most of the people here have been evacuated and brought to the Scituate Town Hall. About 300 people spent the night at the town hall. There may still be some people in the Hummerock section, we understand, which is a separate section of Scituate that may still be in their homes. But basically, most of the people have been evacuated, and what the effort now is to try and get these people out of the high school, the crowded conditions there, and into private homes. They're trying to match up the people from the waterfront who were flooded out into homes and Scituate. And it's going to be many days before the situation here is back to normal.
Peter, one more quick question. In that convoy, they joined 145 other troops already there for the relief effort. As you can see, they took with them a lot of heavy equipment for use in that dig-out. Excuse me, Jack.
Gail, we've been in touch with Jerry Liddell. He is in Revere, and we hope to have him on live within the confines of this newscast. Eyewitness News reporter Jack Borden, meanwhile, spent the night at a motel west of the city, and you'll find out he was able to start his day's work without even leaving his room.
This is the Mass Pike extension looking east, going into the city of Boston. And anybody who's ever seen this road at 7:35 in the morning, at the height of the rush hour, knows what it looks like, with traffic almost bumper to bumper flowing into the city. Here it is the morning after the great storm. The road is empty. And here is that view eastward, filmed 45 minutes earlier from the 10th floor room of the Hojo Motel over the Pike in Newton, where cameraman Ed Dukes and I bunked down for the night. We got their last room. The place was jammed with stranded travelers. Here's the view towards Center Street, Newton, like a picture postcard, but it conceals the complications wrought by the storm. And now from the 10th floor, looking down onto Washington Street, where a lone stroller took his morning constitutional. At the Weston toll gate, we encountered a mechanized outfit from Fort Devens. This unit, made up of heavy earth-moving equipment and armored vehicles, rolled to Nahant and other shore points to help evacuate flooding victims and move debris caused by the ocean onslaught. And here's another unusual sight. A weekday, 8:45 in the morning, we're on Route 128 near the entrance of the Massachusetts Turnpike. Don't let these open lanes fool you. A little farther down, 128 is totally plugged. But this is the kind of thing you would only see on perhaps a Sunday morning, not even a Sunday morning, maybe a Christmas morning. Route 128, almost totally vacant at 8:45 in the morning. And there's a mood switch at the junction of 128 and Route 9, where some abandoned trucks and cars litter the road. Where no vehicles got in the way of clearing operations, the highway is perfectly open. If you were forced to abandon your wheels on Route 128, do not try to recover your vehicle today. The Department of Public Works says abandoned cars will be towed to specially cleared areas, and state police will patrol the road to protect the vehicles. It's estimated that over 2,000 cars and 500 trucks were abandoned between Braintree and Linfield. In the worst areas, the DPW will clear one southbound lane with the help of federal troops who are coming into Logan Airport. Once the lane is cleared, it will be reserved for emergency vehicles, and with luck, we'll range farther from Boston this afternoon and show you the scenes on the evening news. This is Jack Borden, TV4 Eyewitness News.
Heavy drifting which accompanied the storm has once again buried thousands of fire hydrants. Captain John Collins at the Boston Fire Department urges citizens in every community to clear the snow from hydrants in their neighborhoods. Where the snow is deep, mark the hydrant with a strip of cloth atop a stick or a pole. The city of Lynn was hit today by the third major fire in the last 2 weeks. It was a 4-alarm blaze which started in a second-floor bedroom of a 2-family dwelling located at 31 Sagamore Street. Only one family was living in the building. They were safely evacuated and they've been taken to a Red Cross shelter. For a while, the fire threatened 2 6-family dwellings close by before it was brought under control. There have been no reports of any injuries. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Gail?
Just moments ago, Rhode Island Governor J. Joseph Garrahy finished a helicopter tour of his battered state. Governor Garrahy spoke with Providence TV station WJAR reporter Jack Kavanaugh.
Well, the first 2 airplanes, 2 C-131s have come in. The first one came in with some equipment. The second one came in, I think, with a command staff of people. Staff commander, Colonel Ayers, is in. We've had a briefing with him. We know what we're going to have to do. He cleared the runways for C-141s, which are much larger aircraft, which will now be coming in over the next few hours in Rhode Island with the troops and with heavy equipment.
In other words, he used the equipment that he had aboard his own plane to help clear the runways.
No, he came in on a smaller aircraft, but the first C-131 that came in with a few small trucks. Our crews at the airport have just performed a miracle. They've working all night. They've opened up that airfield. They've cleared the room so that that field is ready for anything that they can bring in here now.
Okay, when?
That report was taped just moments ago from WJAR TV in Providence, the interview with Rhode Island Governor J. Joseph Garrahy. The Coast Guard says the bodies of 2 crew members from the pilot boat Can-Do were washed ashore this morning in Nahant. The body of Captain Frank Quirk was found about 5 hours ago. The body of another crew member was found shortly thereafter. 3 other members of the pilot boat are still missing. The Coast Guard cutter Decisive is nearing a stranded oil tanker off Salem, Massachusetts right now. Once on the scene, they will begin taking off the crew of the grounded tanker Global Hope. At this moment, there is no danger that the tanker will sink. About midnight last night, the weight of the record snow became too much for a section of roof at the Liberty Tree Mall in Danvers. A section of the flat roof caved in, dumping as much as 10 feet of snow into the Anderson Little clothing store, lesser amounts into the Cummings store. Fortunately, both buildings were empty at the time and no one was hurt. The sun is out at last. Don Kent will have more on our weather when Eyewitness News continues.
You deserve a second look. You've got it at the optical department at Sears. Get an exciting second pair of fashion frames at prices you can afford. Get fashion frames that will kill 'em in the evening or shake 'em up on the job. Get a pair for that outdoorsy look and one for that cozy nook. You deserve a second look. Choose from a wide selection of fashion frames from the great name in eyewear.
The optical department at Sears.
When I was a little girl here in Valhalla, there was one store-bought ice cream good as our homemade, Breyers, made with the same pure, simple things we used at home. Chunks of peaches, natural sugars, lots of milk and rich cream, nothing phony and nothing extra. I haven't made ice cream like that in 50 years. Thank heaven Breyers still does.